Washington, November 8, 2024. The Federal Reserve raised the benchmark interest rate by 0.25%, marking its fourth increase this year to combat high inflation. The Fed chair stated this measure aims to control rising prick. There comes a time in life, usually after 70, when the simplest routines begin to reveal hidden truths. Drinking a glass of water in the morning, something we've done for decades without thinking, can suddenly make us feel dizzy, unsettled, or strangely drained. And yet it's easy to brush it off, telling ourselves that maybe it's just age, or maybe we didn't sleep well. But what if the problem isn't your age or your sleep, but the way you drink water, and when and how much, and even what kind? In this video, we'll quietly walk through 5 common hydration mistakes that many seniors unknowingly make at the start of their day. These are not dramatic errors, but subtle habits like drinking too fast, reaching for cold water straight from the fridge, or skipping breakfast entirely, that can quietly tax your energy, digestion, and balance over time. If you've ever felt off in the morning and couldn't quite explain why, you are not alone. I've been there too, and I want to gently guide you through the small shifts that can bring ease and clarity back to your mornings. If anything here resonates with your experience, feel free to share it in the comments or simply type the number 5 if you've ever made one of these mistakes. And don't forget to subscribe for more elder wisdom and daily wellness insights. Sometimes we think the body should work the way it always has, steady, predictable, forgiving. But after 70, the truth is that even simple things like drinking water need to be approached with more care. There's a quiet wisdom that comes with aging, a kind that helps us notice elder discomforts we once ignored. Perhaps you've woken up and reached for that glass of water out of habit, finishing it in 1 or 2 big gulps, thinking you were doing the right thing, hydrating early, starting the day strong. But then, not long after, a strange lightheadedness creeps in, or your stomach feels a little uneasy, or your heartbeat feels off in a way that's hard to name. It's easy to dismiss these feelings, but when they begin to happen more often, and when nothing else seems to explain them, it's time to look closer at how we've been treating the body first thing in the morning. When we wake up, every system in the body is in a delicate state. The kidneys have slowed overnight. The heart is adjusting to a new rhythm. Blood pressure is shifting. Digestion hasn't fully restarted yet. And suddenly we flood it all with a large volume of water, fast and forcefully. The body isn't ready for that rush. It's like turning on a faucet at full pressure when the pipes are still cold. The shock can ripple through your circulation, causing drops in blood pressure, sudden nausea, or even heart palpitations that feel like a flutter. Many older adults I've spoken with say they feel a brief wave of discomfort in the first 30 minutes after drinking water, but they never thought to connect it with how quickly they drank it. I didn't either, until I slowed down and saw the difference for myself. The best day after 70 needs rhythm more than volume. What helps isn't just drinking water, but how we drink it. Think of it less as a task and more as a ritual, a gentle reawakening. Sit up slowly when you wake. Take a few deep breaths. Reach for a small glass, not a large one. Sip gently. Pause. Let your system adjust. Then sip again. For 15 or 20 minutes, that same water will not only hydrate you, but help you feel more stable, more clear-headed, more connected to your body. And if you're someone managing blood pressure, heart rhythm, or certain medications, this small shift can make a big difference. It's not about restriction, it's about respect. Your body is asking for time, not just water. And when we listen to it carefully, even something as simple as a morning sip can become a moment of care, not just a habit. As we continue, there's another quiet habit that many older adults carry without question. One that feels harmless, even refreshing, but maybe quietly unsettling the body each morning. Perhaps you've opened the fridge, poured yourself a tall glass of cold water, and felt that brief shock of coolness ripple down your chest. In younger years, this sensation might have felt like a clean start, a way to wake up from within. But after 70, the body doesn't always welcome that sudden cold. In fact, the older we get, the more gently our system needs to be treated, especially first thing in the morning, when every part of us is still adjusting to the new day. Our blood vessels are narrower, our digestion is slower, and our core temperature is slightly lower after a long night's rest. And when icy water hits that soft, dormant stomach, it can cause the body to tense up rather than open. You might not always feel it immediately. Sometimes it begins with a mild stomach cramp, or a flutter of discomfort in the chest, or a moment of internal chill that seems to stay longer than it should. And because these sensations are subtle, we often think they're just part of aging, or maybe the weather or something we ate the night before. But the truth is that cold water on an empty stomach can delay the activation of your digestive system, constrict blood flow, and force your body to work harder just to regulate temperature, drawing energy away from other important processes. For someone in their 30s or 40s, this may not be a noticeable issue, but for older adults, especially those with weaker digestion or slower circulation, this single habit could be the reason why mornings feel more sluggish, or why the stomach seems unsettled even before breakfast. There's a quiet strength in warmth. Just like how a warm bath eases tension in tired joints, warm or room temperature water can ease the transition from sleep to movement. It helps blood vessels expand naturally. It supports gentle hydration without triggering shock. And it allows the stomach to begin waking up in its own rhythm. I used to think cold water was the healthiest choice because it felt the most pure. But over time I realized that comfort is also part of health. And after switching to water that was closer to body temperature, I felt less tension in my gut, fewer sudden chills, and a calmer start to the day overall. It's a small change, one that asks nothing more than a moment's pause before turning on the tap. But that pause, like many other thoughtful moments in later life, can mean the difference between a rushed, reactive morning and one that begins with calm, clarity, and care for the body that has carried you through so much already. Sometimes, the things we do with good intentions can quietly backfire, especially when our routines are guided by habit rather than awareness. For many seniors, the morning begins with medication, whether it's a thyroid pill, a blood pressure tablet, or something to ease pain or inflammation. Over time, this becomes second nature. Wake up, reach for the pill box, drink a big glass of water to wash it down and move on. But if you've ever felt queasy, lightheaded, or unsettled in the hour that follows, it may not be the medication itself. It may be how and when you're drinking water with it. As we age, the digestive system becomes more sensitive, and the delicate balance between fluid, stomach acid, and medication timing becomes even more important. Flooding the stomach with too much water too quickly, especially on an empty stomach, can lead to discomfort or reduce the effectiveness of the very pills we depend on each day. It's easy to assume that more water is always better, but certain medications are designed to work within very specific conditions. Some need a little food to anchor them, while others work best with only a small sip of water and a quiet stomach. When we override those conditions, not out of recklessness but simply out of routine, we may unknowingly cause the body to react. You might feel a hollow churn in your belly, a slight wave of nausea that seems to come out of nowhere, or a tiredness that lingers longer than usual. It's rarely dramatic, but it builds quietly, making the start of each day just a bit harder. I used to believe that taking pills with a full glass of water was the safest thing to do, a way to be thorough. But what I didn't realize was that my body, especially after 70, didn't need thoroughness, it needed precision. It needed kindness in timing, not quantity. Over the years, I've found that the best approach is the simplest one. Read the instructions carefully, listen to your own body even more carefully, and err on the side of gentleness. For pills that require food, a few bites of a light breakfast can make a world of difference. For those meant to be taken on an empty stomach, a small sip of room temperature water is often enough. And in either case, giving the body 10 or 15 minutes before drinking more, or before having coffee or eating a full meal, can prevent so many of those hard-to-explain discomforts. Aging gracefully isn't about rigid control. It's about learning how to respond differently to things we thought we already understood. And when we apply that wisdom to something as ordinary as our medication routine, the rewards can be surprising. More energy, fewer side effects, and mornings that begin not with resistance but with ease and support economic stability. There's a quiet kind of discipline many older adults carry, a sense of simplifying life, of doing more with less. And sometimes in that spirit, we begin to cut corners in ways that seem harmless. Drinking water in the morning while skipping. Breakfast is one of those habits that feels like a healthy choice. After all, water is good for us, and fasting, we've been told, helps with digestion or weight. But the truth, especially after 70, is more nuanced. The older body no longer rebounds the way it used to. After a long night of fasting, your blood sugar is low, your muscles are waiting for fuel, and your brain needs steady energy to think, to feel stable, and to start the day with calm. When water enters the system alone, without even a small source of nourishment to accompany it, the body may feel refreshed on the surface but becomes depleted inside. You might not recognize it right away. It could show up as a feeling of nervousness, a vague irritability, or a fog that settles into your thoughts as the morning goes on. At this stage of life, we're not just feeding a body, we're supporting memory, balance, mood, and digestion, all of which depend on more than hydration alone. Water, while essential, is not fuel. And when we ask it to carry the full weight of a morning's needs, especially followed by a cup of coffee or medication, it can leave us feeling more unstable than energized. I've known many people who, out of care for their health, reduced their breakfasts to just water or black coffee, only to find themselves feeling strangely flat, disconnected, or worn down by mid-morning. It's an easy mistake to make because it seems so logical, but the body speaks gently and persistently, and when we listen closely, we begin to realize that light doesn't have to mean empty. Instead of skipping breakfast, think of it as a soft landing. Just a few bites of something nourishing, a spoonful of oatmeal, a boiled egg, a slice of fruit, can give your body the grounding it needs to welcome water, to metabolize medications, and to support clarity of mind. It's not about eating more, but about eating smarter, in a way that respects how the aging body draws energy. Hydration works best when it has something to hold on to. Without that, water can pass through too quickly, pulling minerals with it, and leaving your system feeling weaker, not stronger. After 70, it's not about proving how little we can live on. It's about honoring what we need to live well. And sometimes that begins with something as gentle as a warm sip of water, followed by a thoughtful, simple breakfast. When we start our day with care instead of sacrifice, we give our body the stability it quietly craves. As we near the end of this gentle exploration, there's one more habit worth bringing into the light, one that often hides under the comfort of convenience. For many of us, keeping a plastic water bottle by the bedside has become routine. It feels practical, a quick sip during the night, a way to stay hydrated the moment we wake. But as we get older, the little things that once seemed harmless can quietly become more complicated. What seems like a simple act of wellness, drinking water that's been sitting out overnight, can, over time, introduce something far less helpful into our system, especially if that water has been stored in a soft plastic container, exposed to warmth from a nearby lamp or window, or reused again and again without much thought. The older body, already working harder to maintain hormonal balance and protect vital organs, becomes more vulnerable to substances we once filtered out without effort. And among the most overlooked of those substances are the chemical compounds that leach from plastic, particularly older bottles, or those not designed for repeated use. These compounds, such as BPA and similar plasticizers, don't make a dramatic entrance. You won't taste them, you won't smell them. But they can mimic hormones in the body, interfering with your endocrine system in quiet but persistent ways. For someone navigating life after 70, perhaps already managing thyroid changes, blood pressure medications, or blood sugar concerns, this kind of disruption, even in small amounts, can tip the scales. Over time, the effects may surface as fatigue, mood swings, digestive irregularities, or a feeling that something just isn't quite right, even if the rest of your routine has stayed the same. I once brushed off these subtle signs, chalking them up to age or weather or sleep, but when I took a closer look, I began to see the pattern, and I began to understand that safe water habits in old age mean more than just drinking enough. They mean protecting the quality of what we drink, not just the quantity. Fortunately, the solution is simple, and it starts with awareness. A clean glass of water, freshly poured in the morning from a glass or stainless steel container, can feel surprisingly different, not just in taste but in how your body responds. When we make the shift away from plastics, especially overnight stored ones, we reduce our chemical exposure, ease the burden on our liver, and give our hormones space to find their natural rhythm again. This small act of care may not be visible to others, but your body will know. And in this stage of life, when peace and stability matter more than ever, knowing that your first sip of the day supports your well-being, not quietly working against it, is a comfort you deserve. Sometimes, aging gracefully isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things, even in the quietest moments. As we've gently walked through these 5 common hydration mistakes, I hope you've begun to see how even small habits can quietly impact your health, especially in the delicate morning hours after 70. Whether it's drinking too quickly, choosing ice-cold water, skipping breakfast, or relying on plastic bottles, each choice holds the power to either support or strain your body. I've seen it not only in myself, but in friends and neighbors, some who felt drained each morning without knowing why, and others who made small changes and found their balance again. Aging gracefully isn't about perfection. It's about paying attention. If any part of today's video reflected something you've experienced, I invite you to share your story in the comments below. Which of these habits have you noticed in your routine? Just type the number that stood out to you most, or feel free to describe your morning experience. Your insights may help someone else who's quietly going through the same thing. Let's keep learning together.